What if the conversation you're avoiding isn't protecting your team? It's actually protecting you.
This is the Champion Forum podcast with Jeff Hancher, the forum for leaders, champions, and dreamers.
Hey, welcome back to the Champion Forum podcast, everyone. Jeff Hancher here, and I am on a mission to help others lead, inspire, and win in this life. Just last week, I was facilitating the firm feedback experience here in Pittsburgh, and there was this moment in time during the day. We had just taken a break, and one of the leaders that was in the room that day walks up to me. He looks at me and he said something that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. He said, "Jeff, I think all along I've been telling myself that I'm protecting my people. But I've come to this reality sitting in this workshop today that the real truth is that I've been protecting myself." And I look at this guy for a minute and I said, "Tell me what you mean by that." And I thought I knew where he was going, but I wanted to have a conversation here. And he said, every difficult conversation that I've been avoiding, I have found a way to convince myself that I was actually being very compassionate. I told myself I didn't want to discourage the people that I'm leading. I didn't want to hurt their confidence. I didn't want to damage the relationship that I worked so hard to build. And then he paused and he said something so profound. He said, if I'm being honest with myself, I wasn't protecting them at all. I was protecting myself from an uncomfortable conversation. And my gosh, did that hit me. And by the way, that's the whole heart of the message that I'm trying to deliver to the leadership world. Because I think a lot of leaders, we unintentionally fall into this trap. We tell ourselves that we're just being a little more patient. I think we need to give them a little bit more grace. We tell ourselves that we're waiting for the right time. But sometimes those things just aren't true. Sometimes I think they're just excuses that are dressed up as leadership. And you know what was amazing about this? After the break, I get back into the room, and this has hit me, and I certainly didn't say the gentleman's name or what was said at the break or anything like that. But after the break, I simply asked the room, how many in the room would say that they felt the same way? And more than half the room raises their hands. And I'm like, wow, this is like leadership breakthrough happening in real time. If you've been to the firm feedback experience, maybe you've read the book, Firm Feedback in a Fragile World. This message is to reinforce what you already know, because I've already talked about this stuff in the book, in the workshop. I know I'm just here to reinforce it. I know you already know. But I've come to find that knowing something and doing something can be miles apart. Listen, there's people that I do executive leadership coaching with that have read the book, been in the workshop, and still have some of these same old challenges, right? And so knowing and doing, man, those are not the same thing. And here's what I've learned. When we refuse to address a performance issue, we don't eliminate the consequences. They never go away. What starts to happen is we just simply transfer the consequences. Isn't that really what's happening? The employee doesn't get the feedback they deserve. The high performers, they're over here just frustrated as all get out because the standards aren't being upheld. The rest of the team begins to wonder if excellence even matters around here at all. Customers eventually start feeling the impact of all of this. And next thing you know, the culture slowly begins to drift apart. All because a leader didn't want 15 minutes of discomfort. And I get it. But here's something that I often say during this firm feedback experience. Avoiding the conversation doesn't eliminate the problem. It never does. It simply guarantees the problem actually gets better. I mean, think about your history of leadership. Did the problem ever get smaller? Did the problem ever just fix itself? Did the problem just ever go away? Almost never does that happen. Typically, it just begins to escalate and it begins to rear its head in a much uglier, nastier way. Think about that. Think about that. Silence is rarely neutral. Silence, matter of fact, I will say this, silence is one of the biggest communicators that there is. And sometimes it communicates the standard around here doesn't matter at all. Sometimes it communicates that mediocrity, that's acceptable around here. Because if you think being silent is silent, it's actually not. Silence is actually sometimes the loudest message that a leader can send. Because sometimes it communicates that we don't care enough to help somebody improve. And I know that stings. And I'm here to serve. I'm here to help you. I'm here to uncover these blind spots. That's my mission in life. But sometimes that's exactly what it's saying without us actually saying it. I don't care enough to help you improve. That's why feedback is something we do. Are we doing it to people or are we doing it for people? I think this is a profound contrast. It's not something we do to people. Man, if you gotta deliver feedback to people, man, that is exhausting. That is scary. That will leave a pit in your stomach. That will make your palms sweat a little bit. Who wants to deliver feedback to people? But if we have this mindset shift, man, this is something I'm doing for people. Wow. This starts to begin to empower us in a different way. Healthy feedback says, you know what? I see potential in you. I believe you're capable of more. I'm willing to invest in your growth. Listen, last time I checked, that's not punishment. That's leadership. Now look, let me be very clear. This doesn't mean that every issue requires this immediate confrontation. I'm not saying that. I think good leaders use wisdom. They gather the facts. They seek to understand. I just did a podcast episode on seeking to understand. Hey, look, we got to have a little bit of tactful delivery here. We got to pick the right time. We got to pick the right setting. But once you've done some of this work, delaying the conversation is not going to make all this easier. Matter of fact, it's probably going to make it a little bit heavier. The longer we wait, the more emotion starts to get attached. And usually that emotion is attached to us because we're overthinking it. And we're thinking, I can't believe they did that again. I can't believe they said what they said. Who does that? Who in their right mind would do that? The rest of the team's feeling it. All this tension starts to build up. More examples start piling up. The more frustrated we become. This is what happens when we delay. And eventually we walk into this conversation carrying weeks or months of disappointment instead of having this one finite, very clear coaching moment. And that's not fair to anybody. So here's the question I want to leave you with today as we tackle this truth. What conversation have you convinced yourself you're avoiding because someone else might benefit from it? When deep down, you're avoiding it for your own comfort. Because leadership, it's not about avoiding uncomfortable moments. Leadership is about serving people well enough to help them become who they're capable of being. And listen, I know you read the book, you've been to the workshop, but I will say this, I'm here to challenge that a little bit deeper today. I'm not here to ask you, what did you learn in the book? I'm not here to ask you, what did you learn in the workshop? I hope if you read the book and went to the firm feedback experience, you walked away learning something new. But here's what I know. Sometimes the greatest act of care, it's not just encouragement. You can't know something and not do something. Sometimes the greatest act of care that you can give somebody, it's not just in motivational words. Sometimes it's in clarity. Sometimes it's in accountability. Sometimes, man, it's in this courageous conversation that says, I believe in you too much to let this continue. I just can't do it. If there's one takeaway that I'd love for you to remember today, it's this. The conversations that you avoid today will become the problems that you inherit tomorrow. Don't confuse comfort with compassion. The people you're leading today, they deserve your courage. They deserve it. So this is just a quick episode today to encourage that leader that has all of the head knowledge, but hasn't moved forward just yet. Because I'm going to tell you, when this conversation happened last week, we were 75% through the day. There was a lot of knowledge being had. But we can't just learn something in a workshop and not move forward. Today's episode was to give you a fresh nudge, a fresh word of encouragement to say, you know what? Your leadership is counting on it, and your people are counting on it. The people you lead, they deserve your courage. Appreciate you all joining today. Hey, if this episode challenged you, I'm going to ask you to do me one big favor. Share it with another leader that you think might need this reminder. Also, if you're at a place in your leadership journey that you have the self-awareness that, hey, this is a growth area for me, you just hit on, Jeff. I would love to come alongside your journey and support you any way I can. Maybe you haven't been able to get to the Firm Feedback Experience. We got another one slated for this November 2026 here in Pittsburgh. We don't have a specific date yet. We're working out the final details. However, if you'd like to be the first to know when we release the date and secure your seat, make sure you to email us at info@jeffhancher.com. That's info@jeffhancher.com. Until next time, remember, don't be a boss people report to. Become that leader that people never want to let down.
The Champion Forum Podcast with Jeff Hancher. Lead, inspire, win.